big conflict for me. I grew up down south, so church is a very active part of me growing up and learning about people and meeting people and having a relationship with a higher power. When I realized I was lesbian, as a teenager, realizing it again, oh my God, I've locked this away for so long. This is really who I am. I felt like I didn't have a seat in church. There was not a place for me there. So physically, I still went. I still attended. But I dropped out because there was no one like me in my church with a voice. I wasn't allowed to have a voice. I wasn't allowed to be who I was. So I kind of dropped out, and I got a little rebellious, and really feeling like that was something that I just had to leave behind. If this was the life that I wanted for myself and wanted to be authentic, that there was no place for God in my life. And He didn't want me. So I was mad, and I didn't want Him. So, later in college, I met some people that were Buddhist, and they opened me up to spirituality, my personal relationship with a higher power. And it's taken me years to start coming to a place like this, where all our ideas are so similar, and it's just as simple as we are one. And all that other stuff is irrelevant. So I thank God for those.
Some of my challenges were really more, since I shut down to it, it was more the awakening that was challenging. I had a lot of internal fear around what people would say about me, what they would think about me. And I was fortunate that I didn't get a lot of it from the environment, but the messages growing up, I had a father that was an ex-Marine and would talk about what they did to gays in the military. And it just sent early messages of fear inside of me, that it wasn't okay to be anything other than heterosexual. And so I had just a lot of fear around it. I was scared to look at it. I was scared to go within and to ask these questions and to discover. It led me to seeking help from a wonderful therapist who then led me to this community. And since it's been so healing and empowering to look at my orientation and see the good in it and see the God in it. And that I'm free to explore and to look and to experience and to enjoy everything that's around me that I didn't allow myself as growing up. And so it was a challenge, and I still have a lot of inner anxiety right now. Dating is probably my biggest challenge because there's so much that people make up about my sexuality. They say that there's thoughts that bisexuals can't be monogamous or that they want only 3 ways, and yes, they're fun, but...
Can you say that in church?
And so they're just, when in dating men, I would have experiences of, ooh, like all they think about is me and another woman, and it's like, okay, there's a little more to me than that. Or dating lesbian women who felt that I would leave them for another man. So I felt kind of ostracized from both the straight and gay community, and so it's been I'm grateful for this community because it's working here and doing my spiritual practice and diving deep into oneness and wholeness that I've been able to really own that and step into it more powerfully for myself and for others. I feel very powerful and very passionate to be a voice for inclusion and oneness, and I feel that this orientation affords me that.
I know that there's a lot of fear around bisexuality. That's what I'm hearing. There's fear around bisexuality. In some straight people, there's fear in the gay community around bisexuality. So to walk that path of true wholeness in the orientation really does cause things to stir.
Yeah, and in others as well, as
yes.
myself.
Yes.
Yeah,
it does. Pete.
Yeah. Challenges. I think the biggest challenge was growing up, and I think that I on a regular basis refer to myself as a man, as male, and a he from, as said, the age of 3 on. And, you know, I was constantly shut down by my parents and others in society, and there really wasn't a diagnosis for me. So nobody really knew what was going on. So I had to wait, you know, I eventually shut down around the age of 10 or 11 when I realized that socially that was sort of an awkward thing to say. And, you know, it wasn't until I was 16 or 17 that, you know, the therapist actually brought up the idea that someone could be transgendered and that wasn't a sickness, you know, it wasn't a false sort of psychosis, that it was a real phenomenon. So I had to wait for 17 years of my life to figure out what was going on and then how to deal with it. So I think that was the biggest challenge. I mean, there are all sorts of stigmas and false ideas of what a transgender person is, but I'm not so challenged by those. I don't think, mainly because I don't stick out, but I also have supportive family and friends, and I don't buy into it. So.
But that's a good, you brought that up the other day when we were talking. I'd like you to talk about that. The idea that the challenge for transgender coming forward is that they blend. Is that?
Yes. Yes. Most transgender people actually don't. I mean, they look pretty ordinary. They act pretty ordinary. So when someone, you know, thinks about what a transgender person is, they tend to think about the ones that they do see out in the world. Ones that they think, quote unquote, look like a man in a dress or something, and that's you know, that's not even close to the entire transgender community. And you know, there's all sorts of stigma and again, false ideas about what a transgender person is, that they're messed up in the head, that they're hypersexual, you know, and because once you transition, most transgender people blend into society. They have to publicly out themselves in order to try and change the ideas of what a transgender person is.
And one more thing that we talked about that I'd love for you to share about is that actually there are a larger, I don't know if I say this correctly, but there's a faction of the transgender people that end up in prostitution and pornography. And I'd love for you to talk about that too, because I think that's important for us.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, there is a big, well, a disproportionate number of transgender, particularly women, who end up in the sex trades. And you know, the real reason for that is actually that they can't get a job anywhere else. If you come out and transition, and particularly if you're born physically male and you identify as female, that is, people don't hire you, you know, until you look like everyone else. So you have to go through the transition, which costs, for women, can cost upwards of $30,000. So this is their last resort. Their only resort for many of them. So that's why there is such a predominant sex trade with transgender women. Yeah. So I just think that that's one thing that we need to at least highlight, which is why there might be, you know, why that might be the predominant idea of what a transgender person is.
Yeah, yeah. I just think that's so beautiful. I said to him that I imagine a world where we're so free that when transgender people transition, that it is a rite of passage for all of us. Yeah. And we actually celebrate it, and we participate, and even share in the ritual of that. So, and you had mentioned that there are some cultures that do that.
Yeah, there's two spirits in certain Native American tribes that were, you know, androgynous, gender ambiguous, and they were actually, you know, sort of they were held up as special and wise and whatnot. So, in different societies, it is an asset.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Daryl.